Welcome everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, brothers and sisters, for joining this wonderful session from ChainSys. We have our great customer and also a great friend, Samir, on today's session. And Samir, can you give a quick introduction about yourself as we get started with this session?
Sure, of course. Thank you, Sindhu. First of all, I'd like to wish everybody a happy new year and all the best for 2021 or 2021, as some like to say. I am Samir Mehta. I have about 25 years of work experience. I have been working with the ChainSys team for about three to 4 years now. I've had the privilege of being the head of data for a few different organizations across multiple industries, from financial services to CPG, consumer product goods, and then also in manufacturing. So I have a plethora of a variety of experience across those industries and how data is used differently to solve problems that are specific to those specific industries. And so when Sindhu asked me to join in on this webinar today, I was very pleased to participate and talk about my experiences. Not that they're any better than your experiences, but they happen to be my experiences, and I've been doing it for quite a bit of time. So hopefully there is some learning that the team takes away from it. So that's me. Hello.
All right, Samir, thank you. Thank you so much. And, Samir, with your over 30 years of data experience, you approached digital transformation in all aspects, and particularly coming from the digitally transforming the organization with the data as a focus. My question for you is very layman, simple ask. Can you define what a digital transformation means and what it means for an organization to get digitally transformed? Thank you.
So I scratched my head there for a second because 30 years of experience, I'm not quite that old yet. I don't think it's 30, maybe it's 25. It's likely less than 30. But regarding digital transformations, they are what you believe they are to be, right? And what I mean by that is it depends on the actual use case and the business and the enterprise, and the industry that you're in. And that will define what your specific digital transformation looks like. So some of the examples that I can possibly give is, let's just look at the banking sector for a moment, right? We're all used to going into branches and doing our transactions, whether we have to get do a cash deposit or we have to pay a mortgage or anything like that. We go into a specific branch, right, to do that, or we used to go to a branch. These now banks have realized that we can do everything online, right? So doing everything online as opposed to doing something in person is a digital transformation in and of itself, right? Except for maybe going into a branch for your security deposit, right? You can't do that online, and maybe getting cash at an ATM. Everything can be done online today. So that is an example of a digital transformation inside the banking sector, right? In the manufacturing space, as an example, I've heard of digital transformations or have worked on digital transformations that are simply moving data out of legacy and antiquated ecosystems into a modern cloud-like ecosystem, right? So that is a digital transformation, let's say as an example of one in manufacturing, being that your front-end experience as you enrich your website and all that is also obviously part of those transformations. But it really depends on what industry you're in, what problem you're trying to solve for. And it's really a large hat that we put on that we are doing a digital transformation, right? But it really depends on where you are To me, that's the variety of experience that I've had. And I often ask myself that question, what is the transformation here today? But one of the things I will tell you is that data is at the centerpiece of any transformation, especially a digital transformation, right? Because data is the one and probably the only asset in the organization that moves from place to place. It's constantly moving, from directionally east to west or north to south, from one application to another application, to another database, to a data lake, to a report, to an analytics engine. So it's constantly moving, and that is the foundation that drives all types of transformation. So that is the center and the focal piece that I think is common in every digital transformation that's happening there today.
Great, Samir. Wonderful to hear. Data is a central piece of the transformation journey. And, from my experience on the digital transformation or just an organization, when we take an organization, they're in different levels of, maturity. Right? Some of them have great systems, interconnected. Some of them have excellent analytics. They have MDM solution, EDM. So different, situations. And in your recent, when we worked together at Vertiv, I just wanted to, when you landed in that huge engagement where you are responsible single-handedly to bring in the digital transformation with data as a focus, what was the business expectations and what was the technical landscape within that organization which you looked at, and how you thought about modernizing the whole thing?
Yeah, so that the general approach there was to improve 3 different areas in the organization, right? And the broad buckets were to improve the business operations, was one. The second was to improve the experience that the employees had. And lastly, and probably the most important, was the experience that our customers and clients would have, right? So customer experience. So those 3 are the large buckets that were the areas of improvement or modernization that was the target of that program. And all of those buckets, if you will, had applications, and then those applications were fueled by, you guess it, data, right? So data was the common denominator across each of those areas of improvement. And quite frankly, without data being readily accessible, you're looking at a blank application, and looking at a blank application does nobody any good, right? So that was the broad strategic objective of the transformation.
Great, Samir, thank you so much. And, when you look at the digital transformation, there are multiple silos of different activities that involves, such as migrating the data from legacy platforms to modern applications. Along with that comes testing, how we can modernize the testing of the applications. How do we put together the master data governance, data quality within the organizations, and then putting together, centralizing all your data assets in a data lake through enterprise data management, right? And then building a catalog to help the customers, the overall organization, understand with complete clarity what is there in the organization with respect to the data, and also the reports, analytics, so that you can always go fetch the information at very quickly without having to go through too many rounds of unnecessary wastage of time. And then compliance, all these organizations, the data helps them to be also compliant and secure, with cybersecurity issues and whatnot. So there's plenty of silos in all of these. And I always hear from you uniquely saying, don't get confused on this with all the silos. Let's approach this problem from the results, right? So from the results, approach what we need to backward plan it out. Let's just bring all these concepts all together and tying the knots, connecting the dots of all of these. Can you throw some light on your unique result-based approach to this complex problem?
Yeah, sure. I think the what we're trying to get at there is what ultimately ends up in a user's hand that he or she can now take advantage of, right? And if you look at it from that perspective, right, you may be decomposing and solving for what ends up in a user's hand through different data solutions along the way. But if you take that backward-looking approach, so as an example, two things that I think that ends up in the hands of users is the ability to do on-demand analytics is one, right? Whether it's on financials or profitability of an organization, or are we using the best parts to manufacture a piece of equipment, right? The on-demand analytics of that is the end result that gets into the hands of the different users in the different areas of the organization. Now, in order to get to that point, right, you're solving a series of data problems along the way. So let's look back for a moment. So what goes into these analytics? Well, obviously it's data, right? But it's just not any data, right? You have to go first find the data that you need, right? So if you have a data catalog at handy, you no longer need to go find that data. You know exactly where it is because the catalog is going to tell you where it is, right? That piece of data, then you have to ensure that that makes it into your reporting repository. It could be a centralized data lake, right? And the most important thing is that you have to have high quality data residing in your organization to be able to fuel those analytics, right? So you're solving a data quality problem, you're solving a cataloging problem, you're solving a centralization of data problem, making sure that your data assets are co-located. So you've decomposed it down to 3 or 4, and we can go on and on, but I think at this level, there's 3 or 4 high-level data problems that you're solving along the way in order to get that high-end on-demand analytics into the user's hands, right? So that's one. Secondly is you try and strive for, again, getting into that user's hands, maybe not analytics, but have them use a unified workflow or a process, right? In global organizations, you have varied processes that may end up in the same result at the end of the day, but you are spending an inordinate amount of money supporting non-unified processes and workflows, right? So if you can strive from that point of view, again, looking backward, that I need to get on a unified process, and that could be for creation of any MDM at the end of the day. It could be for customer workflow, it could be customer MDM that goes into that, or even the product side of the house. If you can, again, look backwards, keeping in mind that how do I get the organization on a unified platform? Again, you're solving for data problems along the way to get there, but that end result that ends up in that user's hand is what's key here, right? So, in summary, it would be the unified workflows, unified processes, and also that on-demand analytics. I think that if you wear those hats and take that perspective, all the data work that you do leading up to that will be that much more enriched. And at the end of the day, it's about delivering high quality data for these end users, right? And so if you keep that in mind, I think that you'll probably be able to solve for the problems much easier, and as you keep the output at top of mind.
Great, Samir. That was very insightful, and I really appreciate, because that was a great learning for me, to approach the problem from the results rather than trying to break too much of the silo problems.
Right.
I want to move on. One other thing, learning out of this, data is the central piece of digital transformation. And you gave a wonderful opportunity for ChainSys to be your preferred product and service vendor for that entire digital transformation work. So to be precise, you put ChainSys in the middle of this complex digital transformation. Can I try to, for everybody's understanding, how did you evaluate and how did you come to that conclusion that ChainSys is the right solution for this complex transformation for all the data, complete problem solving? And then what was your final conclusion, or how did it perform?
Look, my approach is if you can explain to me what you're doing as if you're explaining it to a toddler, right? Then I understand it, right? I personally don't need the complexities of how software works, right? Just break it down to its brass tacks and keep it very simple and use common language, right? And I think the elegant way in which the ChainSys team was able to explain that to me, now going back several years, is really what caught my eye, right? If you truly understand your product and take pride in the product that you're representing, it comes out when you're communicating to a particular customer or client, right? If you don't understand the product that you're selling, right, or that you're presenting, it's going to come out very quickly during the presentation or any demo that you will be doing, right? And that'll be found out, right? And that is personally where I kind of gauge who knows what they're doing and who should be granted the opportunity to do some work for us. So it's really, I remember the day that the ChainSys team demonstrated the product to me, and it was just with that level of simplification, right, is what really caught my eye, and I think that generally that's what you need to do when you not only solving data problems, but you're solving any problems in general, right? Decompose it down into its component parts, solve each of the component parts, and then it's much more digestible for a user, and that is what's going to win from my point of view.
Great, Samir. And just a follow up, are you in a place to say ChainSys products were giving you the right return on investment for all of the things you invested?
I believe so. Yeah, I mean, no doubt in my mind that was the case, right? Again, several years ago until now, current day, I think the software is performing the way it should be, right? Like any other software, if there have been improvements along the way, and it's nice to see those improvements take flight. But I don't see at all why the use case and the ROI from a ChainSys solution would not be there, right? Because I think it's not only about the product, it's also about the team that is surrounding the product, that is helping to ensure that the product is working correctly and accurately and comprehensively, right? And so they go hand in hand, the product side and the services side. And my experience has been great. So I'm happy to speak about those positive experiences. And so I think it's been a fantastic ride up until this point.
Great, Samir. And one more thing I just wanted to, when we did the data centralization, there was like a, huge amount of data, right? Close to about 70 terabytes of data we brought in from 30 plus different applications. We put all the pipelines to bring in all this data, master data, transactions, and reference information and whatnot. And your ask was very straight. Hey, whatever we bring in, you got to, have the highest quality of the data. I felt really moved by that because having worked in multiple projects, people always say just lift and shift the data and we will worry about it later. What made you to think that the data, without even though the data size was enormous, you made a very clear determination that if it is not going to be high quality, it's a useless information. So, can you throw some light on that data quality emphasis with this complete program?
I'm happy to do that. That comes from experience, right? At the top of the webinar here, I explained that I had worked at several different industries, and then there was one of situation where, again, as the head of data for the organization, going through a very large M&A deal, and the direction was there is let's just move the data from the company that's being acquired into the ecosystem of the acquiring organization, right? And we'll worry about cleaning the data later on. Well, that it took me several months to understand why you would take an approach like that. And it just doesn't work, because if you have a clean data set already in your target system, why would you want to pollute it, right? I don't think you would want to do that. It's like simple. I have this bottle of water, and this is not rehearsed at all. This just happened to be here. If I put a drop of a pollutant in here, would you drink it? Probably not, right? I wouldn't, right? So the same situation there is. If you move data that's has not gone through a quality or data quality algorithm, if you will, why would you move it into a data set that's already clean? You're just going to pollute that data set, and you're going to increase the amount of work that you're going to have to do. So from that learning experience, and as I moved, further on, when all this other work started, the first mandate was let's ensure that the data is clean, right? And again, data, you can call it whatever you want. It's the new the money asset. It's the new bacon. It's essentially what fuels your organization, right? Again, it's ubiquitous data. It's everywhere, right? Everyone is touching it. Everyone is using it every single day, no matter where you are in the organization, no matter where you sit, what function you are responsible for, what level in the organization you're sitting at, right? It's a asset that is used every single day. So why would you not want to ensure that it is of the highest quality that it can be, right? So it's from that learning experience, as I brought that forward, is where I kind of ensured or made sure that we looked at examining data sets and ensuring that the quality was there before we accepted them into the centralization repository.
Great, Samir. Nicely put. In none of the water, we want to be very cautious about the polluted drop.
There's no pollutants here, so I'll take a sip. How about that?
All right. So another, question. This is nothing related to technology or anything. I always find technology mixed with the right people. And their innovation, right, on a daily basis, not on occasional basis, on a daily basis. That's what brings the change for such a big program, right? And you have been such a craftful, I would say you have a real, you perfected that whole thing. either from the partners or from the the employees, or can you throw some light on the continuous innovation that is expected out of these kind of programs, and in general, what is your advice to a data professional? What should he or she be thinking to do?
I always say put the user at top of mind, right? Would you personally want to use the solution that you just helped craft for your organization? Ask yourself that question. What you are working on today as a data professional, right? The solution that you're putting together for someone else to use, because that's what data organizations do, right? We are service providers to the organization at large, right? So would you want to take your own solution and now be a user of it, right? Again, that goes back to the point of keeping the end game at top of mind. And if you are not satisfied with the solution you put forward, because now you're wearing your user hat, then you have to continue to innovate and make your solution better, right? At the end of the day, if you are satisfied and you can understand your own solution, because believe it or not, sometimes those who are working in their own data ecosystems, they have just one goal in mind, and let's get done what we're working on today without realizing that what the end goal was, right? So if, again, do that exercise anytime that you're working on building out a data solution, right? See if you want to use it and see if you can understand it, right? Be your own tester, if you will, right? Not even that, but be your own user, right? If you're not satisfied, continue to innovate and continue to improve, right? That is the I think the one key test that we should all as data professionals do, right? And if you're satisfied, amazing, awesome. And then if you're satisfied, believe it or not, you'll be able to explain it to your user community that much better, and that raises the adoption by that same community. And that is the goal here, right? If your solutions are widely adopted, pervasively used, then you are doing your job as a data professional. If the opposite of that happens, then something is not going right. But that's the test to continue to innovate.
Great, Samir. As usual, the clock is ticking. Our enemy. The time is running out of time. So I just wanted to ask, do you want to share your closing remarks to the whole, world here, who's very anxious to hear on, all the great innovations, and your closing remarks, please.
Look, my closing remarks are that, if you are a data professional, and I know that most people who are be watching this webinar will be, there is still a lot to do, right? At the end of the day, you can always create the best solution. You can always create the best software. But if it's not widely adopted, it is something that is not going to be successful, right? And you may have, hit all 10 out of 10, but the user community may not be ready for it, right? Put the user at the center, right? Work with and around the users, right? And your solution, it may not be the most sophisticated solution, but it's the right solution at that time, right? And if you can meet what the demand is at that time, right? And grow with that demand over time, then that is how you will continue to be successful, right? Oftentimes I hear that, the company XYZ was not ready for you yet. Well, yeah, because you're ahead of the time, right? But you know what? Try and meet with how things are moving in the marketplace, right? And then evolve with that. And so, that's what we try to do. That's what I will continue to do. And That's and on that, I wish everybody again a very happy New Year, and I hope it's a great one for everybody.
Really appreciate it, Samir. We greatly enjoyed, and as usual, you made us all happy. And thank you so much for this session. And we're going to meet again same time tomorrow with the Quest for Knowledge, with the ChainSys edition at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow and day after with Samir. So stay tuned. Thank you.